Okay, so if you run an ANTL coaching business, in this video, I'm gonna show you exactly why right now you're unable to generate 5 to 6 qualified calls every single day for your ANTL coaching offer. And I'm also gonna show you one simple tweak that you can implement literally today or tomorrow, however quickly you wanna take action on this video. One simple tweak that will allow you to instantly increase the volume of book calls that you generate for your ANTL coaching offer. And by the way, this tweak, okay, isn't a tactic. It's not a different platform that you don't know about. It's got nothing to do with that. And also, by virtue of me explaining this new way for you to go about getting more calls for your offer, it's also gonna act as a simultaneous explanation as to why everything that you've tried in the past, whether it be a certain course, a certain program, a certain done-for-you service, maybe you've brought an agency on board to try and help you generate more calls, it's gonna simultaneously explain why all of those things you've tried in the past, as well as why, you've tried probably outbound emails, you've tried ads, you've tried organic on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, whatever it is, you've tried a bunch of stuff, nothing seems to be able to generate you consistent qualified calls every single day for your offer. This video is gonna explain it entirely. Now, in order for me to explain it, I need to explain the evolution of the human brain. Now, I know before you click out, that sounds very theoretical and non-applicable, but please just stick with me to the end of this video because I promise you, it's going to explain everything for you. And right after you've finished watching this video, I promise you, you're gonna instantly rewrite all of your messages, rewrite all of your ads, rewrite all of your funnels purely based on this concept on this video. Now, that's a bold claim, so let's jump straight into it so I can show you exactly what I mean. So the 3 parts of the human brain, okay, and how this is stopping you from booking more calls for your agency or coaching business. So there's 3 parts of the human brain, right? Number 1, we've got the croc brain. Some people call this the crocodile brain. Other people call this, I believe, the lizard brain. But basically, this is the oldest, most primitive part of our brain, okay? This is what creates most of the fight or flight responses, as I say here. By the way, I want to give credit where credit's due. This is from Oren Clef, okay? Learned this from him, amazing dude. And this is the answer to all of your problems, okay? So the croc brain is the first part of the brain, okay? So first was the crocodile brain, and I'm basically here, I'm referencing, when I say first, after that, I'm referencing the order in which the brain evolved, okay? So first was the crocodile brain, which is primarily responsible for filtering all incoming messages. This is important, okay? This is responsible for filtering all incoming messages that we receive on a daily basis, okay? And it generates most of the fight or flight responses that we have as humans. Now, when it comes to making decisions, the crocodile's brain processing power or reasoning power is primitive, okay? It doesn't have a lot of capacity, and the small amount of capacity it does have, it dedicates almost 100% to survival because it's the most primitive part of our brain, right? Stick with me here. The next part of the brain is the midbrain. Okay, now after the croc brain came the midbrain. Now the midbrain is what determines the quote meaning of things, right? And determines most social situations, etc. Okay, that's the midbrain. And now finally we have the neocortex, okay? So this took 5 million years to evolve. Now this is important to remember, okay? What's important to remember from the croc brain is that it filters all incoming messages that we receive on a daily basis. That's important to remember here. And what's important to remember from the neocortex is that it took 5 million years to evolve, okay? And I'm gonna reference this later on. It's all gonna make sense. I promise it's gonna click, right? And so, as I say, the neocortex took 5 million years to evolve, and the neocortex has the ability to problem solve and is able to think about complex issues and produce answers using reason, okay? In other words, the neocortex is like the logical part of our brain, and the croc brain, crocodile brain, lizard brain, whatever, is the primitive part of our brain. Okay, so let me explain how we process new information, okay? Because how we process new information essentially is in the exact same process in which our brain evolved. So first, the croc brain receives the incoming information, okay? And when I say information, it could be literally a message. It could be, if you see a plane in the sky, that's kind of like new information that's like flying across, is like a new thing, right? The croc brain receives that incoming information. The midbrain makes sense of the information, and the neocortex then takes over and applies logic to that information. Okay, and so what does this mean? Well, when new information comes into the brain, it first goes into the croc brain, then the midbrain, then the neocortex. Okay, the new information does not go straight to the neocortex. Now remember, what does the neocortex do? Well, the neocortex, okay, has the ability to problem solve and is able to think about complex issues and produce answers using reason. Important to remember that. Okay, so now how does this apply to you getting more qualified calls for your ANTL coaching offer? I promise you there's a reason I'm telling you this, okay? Well, how does this apply? Well, first things first, it's important to know that, as I said before, the neocortex has the ability to problem solve and is able to think about complex issues and produce answers using reason. And so when a prospect books in a call with you and then ultimately becomes a client, they are operating out of their neocortex. Okay, important to know. When a prospect books in a call with you and ultimately becomes a client, they are solely operating out of the neocortex brain. Okay, they're inside of their neocortex. Okay, now, why is this the issue? Because that is the problem. When a prospect books in a call with you, the issue is that they're operating out of their neocortex. Now, why is that a problem? Here's the reason it's a problem. Because as new information comes into your prospect's mind, it first goes into the croc brain, and that piece of information has to work its way up from the croc brain to the midbrain to the neocortex, at which point, once they're operating out of their neocortex, that's the point they're booking a call with you, okay? Super important to remember. So in other words, unless you can get your message past the croc brain of your prospects, you will never be able to turn them into a qualified call and close them. Because again, new information comes into the croc brain, then into the midbrain, then into the neocortex. However, the croc brain has the ability to block that message and never send it to the neocortex, okay? So as I say, unless your message can get past the croc brain of your prospects, you will never be able to turn them into a qualified call and close them. Now remember, the croc brain, okay, is responsible for filtering all of the incoming messages on a daily basis. So as I say, they have the ability to filter out the message before they send it any further to the neocortex. Now again, that's a problem because the only point at which a prospect's going to book in a call with you is when they are operating out of their neocortex. However, if that piece of information, if that message, or in other words, if your outbound message or your ad that you're running never reaches the neocortex because the croc brain instantly blocks it, guess what? Your prospects are never going to book in a call with you. And that's the reason why right now, you're not getting the volume of calls that you want. It's because of that disconnection, okay? Your message is going into your prospect's brain and your prospect's croc brain is blocking the message. They're never sending it to the neocortex, which ultimately means they're never going to book in a call with you because the only point at which they book a call with you is when they're operating out of their neocortex. And I know I might be repeating myself here, but I know for me, when I was learning this stuff, I had to go back over and over and over and over to like really understand it. And maybe that was just my incompetence. Maybe I'm just not that smart, but I'm trying to really drill it in so it's easy to understand, okay? So now moving on. What are the 3 core values of the croc brain? Because that is the question, right? Like that is the question we need to answer. Okay, well, if, unless we can get the message past the croc brain of your prospects, I know I'll never be able to get a qualified book call booked in and ultimately sign the client. So then obviously the question becomes, how do we get the message past the croc brain, right? And into the neocortex? Well, we do it by adhering to the 3 core values of the croc brain. See, the 3 core values of the croc brain are number 1, if it's not dangerous, ignore it. Okay, so like, as I say, when new information, as I say, it's the croc brain's responsible for filtering all incoming messages that we receive on a daily basis. And so when it's filtering out, it's sending, certain messages up to the neocortex. It's sending other messages out. It's like blocking it, and it just never spends any more time on that respective message because again, the croc brain has a small amount of capacity. Okay, so it can't listen and focus on every single new piece of information that's coming in. Because if you think about it, on a daily basis, there's a lot of new information. And imagine if you had to spend time logically thinking and problem solving every single piece of information that you receive on a daily basis. You wouldn't be able to do it. And so the croc brain cuts out a lot of that information, right? Now, what determines whether it sends a piece of information up to the neocortex or whether it blocks it out? What's that filtering process? Well, this is the filtering process. It's based on the 3 core values of the croc brain, right? Number 1, if it's not dangerous, ignore it, okay? And you got to remember, this is the primitive part of our brain. So when it looks at if it's not dangerous, ignore it. This is kind of going back to like, ages ago when, we was in the wild or whatever, and there was like a lion attacking us. Well, that's dangerous. We cannot ignore that attack, right? However, on the flip side, if you was to look at a different style of a tree back then, right? Well, it doesn't need to spend time figuring out the tree, right? Because it's not dangerous. There's no immediate danger. There's no harm in that tree being there. However, and so it can't expend energy on focusing on that tree when there might be a lion coming, and that is way more dangerous, right? So the first thing it looks at is if it's not dangerous, ignore it. The next thing it looks at is if it's not new and exciting, ignore it. This is important. If it's not new and exciting, ignore it. Okay? Again, every single day, you're going to see a building. You're going to see a different type of car. You're going to see grass, you're going to see water, you're going to see whatever, right? I'm just looking at my window here and just listing off some stuff that I'm seeing, right? And so again, imagine if you actually spent time and energy focusing on all of those things, you would have nothing left in the tank, right? For something that could potentially be dangerous or for something that could potentially be new and exciting. And so unless the incoming information, unless it's new and exciting, if it's old and boring and just the same as like what you seen yesterday, you're obviously not going to spend any time or energy on it, of course, okay? And then the third thing is, and this is also very important, never send anything up to the neocortex for problem solving unless it's a situation that is really unexpected and out of the ordinary. Now, how do these three things here apply to, again, you booking more calls for your offer? Well, most industries that you'll be operating out of, right? Like if you're an ANTR or coaching business, you're watching this video right now, the industry you're operating in is probably somewhat saturated. Now, there's going to be some industries that are more saturated than others, but my point is that your market, your ideal prospects are going to be getting hit up, depending on how saturated the industry is, every single day. Maybe it's not every single day, but it's going to be at least multiple times a week, right? But if you're in saturated industries, then your ideal prospects right now, every single day are probably receiving 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 messages a day, okay, from people who are offering the exact same thing as what you are offering right now. And so why is this a problem? Well, guess what? When you then end up sending a message or running an ad to your ideal prospect, you got to bear in mind that that person has also seen 9 other messages or 9 other ads that day from your competitors who are offering the exact same thing as what you're offering. So let me ask you a question. Why on earth would your prospects read, consume, book a call, and become a client of you when they've seen 9 other messages that day, 10 other messages that day, 19, 20 other messages that day from other people who are saying the exact same thing as what you're saying, who are offering the exact same thing as what you're offering? Why would they book in a call with you? Now, I know that's quite uncomfortable to think about because naturally as humans, again, right? We always think like we're the most important, we think that everybody is always thinking about us. When you go into the gym, you feel like everyone's looking at you when actually everybody else is thinking everybody is looking at them and nobody's actually looking at anyone, right? That whole idea, that's what we think naturally of as every human, that's what we naturally think, right? However, you got to realize from the prospect's perspective that they have read probably 5, 10, 20, again, depending on the saturation of your industry, they've probably read 10 other messages that day that all say the same thing as exactly what you've said. They all offer the same thing as what you are currently offering. So again, the question becomes, why would they book in a call with you? And so what happens when they see your message? And again, this is the reason why you're unable to book qualified calls for your offer. And I'm going to get into the solution here in a minute, right? I'm going to get into the solution here, okay? However, this is the core reason. And by the way, I know in this video, I could have just said, make your messages new. Make your messages exciting, but I really want to explain why behind it, because when I understood this for myself, it changed the entire game. And when we apply this to our clients, we do done for you ads for our clients. When we apply this to our clients, it changed the game, period. It doesn't matter how saturated your industry is. This stuff doesn't matter, okay? So again, going back to the main point, why right now are you unable to book more calls for your offer? Despite you sending thousands of outbound messages, spending thousands a month on ads, etc., why are you unable to book more calls for your offer? Well, your messages are bouncing straight off your prospect's croc brain. They go into the prospect's mind, they hit the croc brain. The croc brain has these filters. If it's not dangerous, ignore it. If it's not new and exciting, ignore it. Never send anything up to the neocortex for problem solving unless it's a situation that is really unexpected and out of the ordinary. Goes into the croc brain. Croc brain filters the message in this way, and instantly, because your message isn't new and exciting, because your prospects have seen time and time and time again the same messages, or at least the same ideas and the same offers from all of your other competitors as yours, they instantly look at that as it's boring, it's old, I don't need to spend time on it because I already know what it is. It bounces straight off the croc brain and the message goes out, and guess what that results in for you on your end? It results in your email getting open and never responded to. It results in the prospect just scrolling straight past your ad and never clicking and ultimately booking in a call. And ultimately, as I say, it results in them never booking in a call, no matter what medium or platform or wherever you are trying to get more calls from right now. As I say, that stuff doesn't really matter, right? We're huge advocates of ads just because it's infinitely scalable. When a client comes to us and they're already doing 150, 200K a month, whatever, and they want to get to 500K a month, the easiest way to do that is through ads, right? But it doesn't really matter because it's not that ads work, right? Ads do work. However, it's not whether they work or whether they don't work. It's how well do they work, right? And that's the same with every single platform, which is why in this video, I'm not trying to get to the point of do emails or run ads or whatever, because every platform works. It's not whether it works or not. right? Because every platform works. In every industry, there is somebody on every single platform doing at least 1 to 2 million a month. Whatever agency, whatever niche or industry your agency operates in, whatever niche you coach in, okay, does not matter, because every single platform, whether it's outbound, whether it's organic, whether it's ads, doesn't matter. There's somebody in your industry with your offer who's doing 1 to 2 million a month from every single platform. So the platform isn't the issue. The issue is that your messages are bouncing straight off the prospect's croc brain, and they never send that message up to the neocortex, which, again, going back to what I said at the start of the video, the only point at which a prospect will book in a call with you, as I said up here, the only point at which a prospect will book in a call with you is when they're operating out of their neocortex. Now, if the message never gets through the croc brain to the neocortex, they're never going to book in a call, right? And so the reason right now you're not getting any calls is because the croc brain of your prospect isn't accepting the messages that you're providing it. Now, what is the solution here then? How do we, what's the solution? The solution is actually relatively simple, but it's hard to implement, okay? The solution is, number one, you need to prove that you're different and superior, okay? Nobody actively seeks out the second best in the market, okay? Or really, the second best of anything, right? You always want the best of the best. Now, unless your prospect can see that you're the best of the best, they're never gonna book a call, right? But why not? Well, because if you're not perceived as the best of the best, then you're not perceived as out of the ordinary. And if you're not perceived as out of the ordinary, guess what? Your message goes into the croc brain, they filter it, and they kick it straight back at you. They don't send it up to, it doesn't send it up to the neocortex. Why? Because the only thing that it sends up to the neocortex is something that's unexpected and out of the ordinary. That's it. And so unless you're perceived as different and superior to every single other person in your market, to all of your competition, unless you're perceived as different to and superior to that person, the croc brain isn't going to accept the message, and you're never going to get the book call, which is ultimately why, again, right now, you're unable to get the calls that you want, right? And how do you do this, right? Like, this is kind of like a different video on like how to physically implement this stuff. However, the best way to do it is through subcommunication. What do I mean by subcommunication? Well, the worst thing you can do, I sent a voice note on this to one of our clients last night, actually, right? The worst thing you can do is say, here's why we're different. Right? Or like, this is what makes us different. Now, why should you not physically say that word for word in your messages or your ads or your VSLs or whatever it is? Why shouldn't you say that? Well, here's the thing. The reason you shouldn't say that is because every other person in your industry is probably saying, here's why we're different, right? They're telling the prospect why they're different. What you need to do is you need to show them why you're different, and the subcommunication of that, of you showing them why you're different, the subcommunication of that is proving to them why you're different without you saying it. You don't want to say it because everybody else in your industry is saying it. And so what does that then ultimately result in? The prospect seeing you the same as everyone else and not different to what everyone else is saying. Perfect example, one of our clients runs a B2B agency. She's doing anywhere between, I believe, like 2 to 300K a month. And her track record consists of Google, Netflix, Uber, Twitter, IBM, LinkedIn, HubSpot, crazy companies, all right? And so in the ads that we run for her, again, we have a done-for-you service for agencies and coaches, right? We run their ads, we create their VSLs, and guarantee them 50 sales calls in the next 90 days. If you're interested, click the link in the description, right? But we run her ads for her, and in the ads and in her VSL, what we instantly push is her track record, because the subcommunication of us explaining her track record by showing the prospect, the subcommunication of us saying, here's some of the clients that we've worked with, the subcommunication of that is, we're different from every other person that you've probably interacted with, every other agency you've interacted with. And secondly, more importantly, we are superior. And we do that without actually saying, here's why we're different, right? That's the first thing. Prove that you're different and superior. Why? Because then that creates a situation that's unexpected and out of the ordinary. Because what is the ordinary for your prospect? Well, the ordinary is the same messaging, the same offer that everybody else is saying. Now, if you prove that you're different and superior to what everybody else is saying, that's out of the ordinary. Message instantly goes to the neocortex, they book a call, right? And then the final thing is, and this is important as well, and this kind of goes back to really making what you have be perceived as new and exciting, number one, and make it be perceived that it's out of the ordinary, right? Which is show why your prospects have failed in the past and why/how your solution is going to be the key to them achieving their specific desired outcome, right? How does that play into that message being accepted by the croc brain? Well, again, as I say, If you show why and how what you have going on is actually going to get them the ultimate result, well, that's new and exciting, right? That's new and exciting. And also, if you show why they failed in the past and how you're different to what they've tried in the past, well, again, that's unexpected and it's out of the ordinary. And so the croc brain is going to accept that message and it's going to send it to the neocortex, at which point, as long as your offer is good and your logical explanation of how and why you're different and better than everything else and whatnot is logical and it makes sense, and the prospect goes, yeah, that makes sense. I understand. Well, I understand why what I've tried in the past has failed, and I understand also how this is going to be different and why this is going to get me the result that I want. Now they're operating out their neocortex. They're going to book in a call. That's it. That is a core reason why right now you're unable to generate more calls for your offer. I hope this makes sense. If you've got any questions, let me know in the comments. For me, I know, and again, maybe I'm just, incompetent, but it took me quite a while to like really understand this, and then also actually directly apply this to, because you can understand something, but then actually taking action and applying it to a real life situation is like a whole nother story, right? And it took me a minute to like be able to understand and then apply it to our offer. But as soon as we did, we instantly went from like $500 cost per book call on our ads and also like a 10% closing rate to like 7 to 10 calls per day at about $150 cost per book call. Right now we're averaging. And we're closing around 25% on complete cold traffic. These people have no clue who we are. We're closing at 25%, and we've got a high ticket offer as well. So this stuff works. And the reason we made that transition was simply because I understood what I literally went through in this video and I applied it to my offer. So hopefully this makes sense. Let me know your questions below. And by the way, if you're an agency owner or a coach above 20K a month, ideally, we'll guarantee you 50 qualified showed up sales calls for your offer in the next 90 days, completely done for you, right? We do all of what we've just gone through here, we do entirely for you. And as I say, in the next 90 days, if you haven't taken at least 50 qualified showed up sales calls that will generate buyers for your offer, we'll actually refund you in full, right? Just because we know this stuff works so well that we just guarantee that. So as I say, if you're interested in that offer and you're above 20K a month with your ATL coaching business, then click the link in the description and watch a short, I think it's like an 8-minute video. Watch a short 8-minute video on the next page and then book in a call and we'll see if we can apply this to you. Obviously, we're not, incentivized to hard sell you because, we've got a guarantee. So if we can't deliver 50 qualified showed up sales calls for you in the next 90 days, obviously you don't pay. So click the link in the description if that's you. Outside of that, hopefully this video made sense. If you enjoyed it, like it, all that good stuff, subscribe, whatever you want to do. But more importantly, comment below and let me know any questions that you got, because I really want you to understand this and apply it to your offer, because when you do, I promise it'll change the game. So with that being said, I'll see you in the next video.